Yes, hello, good evening everybody. My name is Callam Davidson and I'm here to be funny about science. Yeah, woo, that's right. We all know how funny science is, don't we? I mean, it's absolutely hilarious, isn't it? I mean, think about it. It makes perfect sense. We've got all the key ingredients required for a laugh. We have got, number one, rigorous interrogation of an extremely niche subject area. Hilarious, okay? Number two, we've got expensive, time-consuming, and often dangerous methodology. Pretty funny. And number three, we've got a chronic, ever-present, and crippling sense of self-doubt at the centre of it all. It's the golden trio. I mean, it's a surprise scientists get any work done at all. Surely they're just laughing in the lab the whole time, right? No. Okay, I'm being facetious, of course. As this evening's show will prove, science can be absolutely hilarious. However, when I sat down to write my set for this evening, it kind of occurred to me maybe the Stand Comedy Club wasn't quite ready for the laugh fest that was my PhD thesis, entitled, and please don't piss yourself, ladies and gentlemen, the role of 11-beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase type 1 in a solid tumour model of angiogenesis. Pretty funny stuff, right? Yeah? Yeah? So essentially, my PhD looked at the effect of stress on blood vessels inside tumours. I looked at one kind of tumour, one kind of mouse. Pretty niche stuff, unless you're a mouse. Amongst mice, I'm kind of a big deal, you know? Obviously, you have to be motivated by the question, and what I found was, after 5 years of hard lab work, 3 broken mass spectrometers, hundreds of near exposures to hazardous radiation, and 1 hefty dose of ethyl acetate to my left eye, I discovered that I don't really give a shit. And I promptly became a science communicator. Yeah! Science communication, ready to welcome with open arms those of you who find science just doesn't tell you you're special often enough. At long last, I was able to send emails again that were more than 5 words long without being considered inefficient. I was able to dispense liquids in more than 1 ml volumes that didn't require precision tools. In my first job as a science communicator, I was employed as an actor by the Edinburgh Science Festival. An actor, I thought. It's all sex, drugs, and rock and roll from here on. Would I be conveying the birth of a star via interpretive dance while being showered with flowers and pipette tips? Or would I be portraying the tortured genius Alan Turing? I couldn't wait. As it happened, my first role was as a flatulent Italian chef suffering from gastrointestinal problems, very subtly named Don Poopy Panty. It was under the horrified and judgmental gazes of 300 P7s. They were judging me despite being P7s. It was around this time, as I pulled a giant fake turd out of a giant fake ass, I realised maybe I wasn't making full use of my 8 years of scientific training. But, nevertheless, Bright Club has been on my SciComm bucket list for some time. I have really wanted to do this for a long time, but I've always struggled to motivate myself to write a set because I found my PhD about as funny as stepping on a plug. So what I had to do was I had to look to my own life for inspiration. So what I did was, well, I'll tell you a story. Life actually came along and gave me the inspiration for this set. So I studied anatomy at the University of Manchester. I studied the marvels of our inner workings, the majestic human form we have, our athletic prowess. Let me tell you now, as a doctor of science, I can confirm it's a crock of shit. All it takes is 28 years of bad posture, 45 kilograms on the seated chest press, and a whole lot of overconfidence in your weightlifting skills, and bam, you're 1 functional spine down. That's right. This evening's set will be about my chronic pain, the leaning tower of Pisa that is my spine. I want this to be the first ever Bright Club set reviewed as painfully unfunny, and for that to be correct on 2 counts. Yes, my chronic pain. I mean, you're probably all looking at me and thinking, well, look at this guy. Is it any surprise he got a back injury? It's true, I'm tall, I'm lanky, I'm very flexible. In fact, my nickname at school was actually Bendy Callam amongst my peers, something that became my first ever email address at the age of 13. bendycallam@hotmail.co.uk. Still active, feel free to email me any heckles. So, I decided to ditch Bendy Callam at hotmail.co.uk at about 17 because I realised it made me sound like a sex offender when I put it Nevertheless, it took me a while to find the funny in my pain. Life doesn't seem so fun after all when rolling over in bed feels like being kicked in the arse by a horse wearing cleats. However, I realised after a while, quite a lot of us share this chronic pain, okay? It turns out I'm not alone. 43% of us actually suffer from some kind of chronic pain. So, let's get a feel for the pain in the room, shall we? Let's have hands in the air, anyone who would describe themselves as having chronic pain. I actually can't see a thing, so I assume around 43% of you have your hands up. If any of you have frozen shoulders, of course, you're welcome to just stand up to indicate this. If any of you have dodgy knees, you're welcome to just bang your face on the table. Okay. Now, being a former researcher, I couldn't resist the urge to do a bit further research into other ways our bodies kind of suck. So I thought, time to put the PhD skills into action. After all, I only used about 80% of them portraying Don Poopy Panty. So I decided what search terms could I use, what linking words, what databases should I use, what would my supervisor say? I ended up Googling shit things about the human body, and that worked remarkably well. PhD students, take note. I went to the very first blog that I found on page 1. I assume that was carefully peer-reviewed. Turns out there are tons of ways the human body sucks. So let's go through a few of them now. We have, number 1, the spine. We've already talked about the spine. That's Bad Anatomy 101. Entry-level chronic pain, noob status, okay? If you want to blame someone, blame some of the very first apes that tried walking on 2 legs rather than 4, our distant ancestors, Homo erectus. Well done, Homo erectus. Not only does your name sound like a raging boner, but you also managed to give us all back pain with your upright posture, your free-to-use hands, and your shitty spines. Okay, let's try this all together, shall we? Who do we blame? Homo erectus. Who do we blame? Homo erectus. You guys are incredible. I'm so glad you said that. Now, there's a few more to go through. So let's start with ladies. Can I get a cheer if any ladies have given birth? Sure, you couldn't quite remember, but 3 of you in the back have given birth. Okay. Now, I'm guessing giving birth wasn't the most pleasurable experience, okay? The reason for that is because we don't have a child-sized pelvis. We actually have quite a narrow pelvis, and the reason for that is because it helps us to walk upright. Sound familiar? Who do we blame? That's right. Fellas, can I get a cheer if you've ever been kicked in the balls? Oh, wow, loads of you have been kicked in the balls. Can I get a cheer those of you who enjoyed being kicked in the balls? There's always one pervert in the audience, of course. Now, the reason it's so easy to kick guys in the balls is because they got a big fleshy punch bag between their legs, okay? That fleshy punch bag helps to keep your sperm nice and cool, so it's serving a function, but wouldn't be so easy to kick a man in all 4s on the balls, would it? We know where we're going. Who do we blame? Exactly. If there's one take-home message from my set this evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's that we should just blame Homo erectus for all pain, okay? Now, listen, I'm running short of time now, so I'm going to wrap this up with, something to leave you with. A lot of people have argued to me in the past, they know I'm an anatomy student, they ask me, well, the human body, it's so incredible, it's so complex, surely that couldn't have evolved by chance. Surely some kind of divine being must have created us. Well, if God made me, he made me at 4:45 on a bastard Friday, watching the clock and waiting for that first glass of wine. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've been amazing.